Raised by his grandmother Nancy, who was a slave in the South, Howard Thurman graduated from the 8th grade, and later the promising student attended the Florida Academy Baptist High School. Here he worked as a janitor to support his education. Howard was a man of religion and education, and he was also a philosopher and a poet. He spent his whole life working to break down the barriers of racism. Thurman was a religious leader who made a big impact in the civil rights movement and impacted many people's lives, such as Martin Luther King Jr. and President John F. Kennedy. It was in the earlier years of Thurman's life where he first heard about Jesus from his grandmother. She also was the one who had forced him to go to school when he wanted to drop out. Howard Thurman was born on November 13, 1900, and lived in South Florida. The schools there only went through 7th grade, but most black children did not be able to graduate from the 8th grade. So when Thurman graduated, his family gathered all of the money they had and sent him off to Jacksonville to be able to go to high school. When Thurman went to the train station to Jacksonville, he only had a trunk with no handles and no locks. The only way for his luggage to be shipped was by mail. He did not have enough money to be able to ship it. Just like any other child, he sat down and started crying. An older black man saw what had happened and covered the fee for him. The man who helped Thurman never introduced himself or to anyone else. Thurman called him the Good Samaritan. This education has opened so many doors for Howard, and he surprised a lot of people because a black person graduated high school. In 1925, he went to Colgate-Rochester Divinity School. After he graduated, Thurman was ordained a Baptist minister. He became a pastor in Ohio, and he also was a professor of theology. Thurman wrote many books, and in 1936, he led a Negro delegation of friendship to Asia. It was heard that Thurman met Gandhi there and was taught to think of Christianity in a different way. He said that God-given faith could be used to fight against the white American segregation. Thurman began to take his views and thoughts on segregation and put them in his books and poems. In 1949, Thurman wrote the book Jesus and the Disinherited. Thurman interpreted the New Testament in his own way, saying that it would lay a foundation for the people. Thurman wanted Jesus and his word to help the disinherited world change within themselves. Thurman was a major part of the civil rights movement, although he was not really a part of the protests and the marches that occurred during this time. Martin Luther King Jr. looked up to Thurman as a mentor and thought of him highly. In 1979, Thurman spent a lot of time studying in private. He discovered that the segregation was not only social, but also racial. Was not only social and racial, but was spiritual as well. Thurman believed that in the future there will be a common ground for all people and all communities. The first step towards the common ground is self-exploration. A person has to look at the inside and be happy with who and what they are. Once that happens, they will be able to see themselves in other people and come to understanding that just because a person that is of a different culture or race, they're still human beings. The second step would be that all people can come together as a community. Thurman believed as people we have this need to want to interact with each other. The last step would be the power of emotions over barriers to keep us apart. You feed off of each other's emotions and they will grow more powerful. Thurman's theory is that over time the experiences are multiplied and shared. We can break all the barriers of segregation of all kinds. Howard Thurman died at his home after a long illness in 1981. A Howard Center later was built in 1986 and was founded by Dean McKena to keep the loving memory of Howard alive. Thurman's ideas are still being used today. He had a major impact on people through his life and people across the world even today. He was a true remarkable man with a passion that grew within everyone around him.